Out of all the most creepiest things I've seen, the one that's intrigued me the most was the case of Edward Norton. Now, to explain who he is, I need to take you back to the beginning. There's a lot of speculation where Edward Norton first appeared. A lot of people think he's Bambi Killer 69 from the video Bambi Killer 69 versus Bigfoot, but I don't believe that's him. My reasonings for this is because of the accent. Edward Norton has never had an accent in any of the videos he has appeared in. The only common thing that these two characters have is the ghillie suits. And with that out of the way, we can dive deeper into the real beginnings.
By the window, by the window.
Now, all of this begins in the video Spooky Scary Sunday, episode 3. It starts off with Cory staring at something very intense, while the camera starts glitching, and what seems to be another Cory in the background slowly approaching the other Cory, just staring, smiling, and shaking intensely. And then it cuts to Cory doing his intro, but gets interrupted by a cry for help.
Hi, how's it going? I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what the...
Help me! He's crazy! I'm handcuffed! Somebody send help, please!
1 second.
But I don't believe this is the true beginning of the story. And that's because of the Spooky Scary Sunday episode 5. It starts off with Cory outside of a home. He starts off with his introduction like the usual, but then he mentions how he's behind someone's backyard and that he plans to break in and kill every single person in that house.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm here to break into this house. This isn't even my backyard right now. I'm actually standing in someone else's backyard. It's Sunday, and thus means that it's a Spooky Scary Sunday. Look at this tree that they have. I'm here to break into their house, and I'm going to kill every single person here. Isn't that funny? I've been watching them for a couple weeks. Okay. Here's the plan. I just checked out the entire residence. There's no one home, okay? So we're gonna buy time until they get home, and since it's Spooky Scary Sunday, I figure we can go upstairs, use their computer, because I know they have one, watch some scary videos until they get home, and then I can slaughter them. yeah, slaughter them. yeah. So we're gonna go upstairs. Let's go.
Another thing to keep in mind is the time in episode 5. It's daylight. And in episode 3, it's nighttime. So I believe episode 5 chronologically is the beginning. He broke into the random person's house and waited until they got home, as you can see in the end of episode 5. And he takes a shotgun to go confront them, and then he ties them up and unalives them, as seen in episode 3. Now we continue the story with episode 7, where we begin with Cory lighting up some candles in a circle while he sits in the middle. But the most interesting about this is that he calls it a ceremony and a ritual. This will be important later, so keep this in mind when we conclude this story, which leads to episode 10. At the end of the video, we start with Cory mentioning he has some things to take care of downstairs, when we hear a scream for help and him laughing and going off screen.
I have some things that I need to take care of downstairs. Now,
Please help me! I'm trapped!
Did you hear that? I'll see you back here next week.
Now, episode 11 marks the most important moment with the first mention and appearance of Edward Norton.
I think they might be gone. Hey, wake up. Wake up. Come on. I think the cops are gone. We're gonna call the police station. And we're gonna say that we saw a man in a ghillie suit going down I-94 West. Need to call in a favor. See, the cops are going to go on I-94, and if they don't find anything, they're just gonna come back here. So I'm calling up a favor on this guy. His name's Edward. He's like a special effect makeup artist guy. I need him to, well, you'll see. Yo, Eddie, I'm calling in a favor. I need a ghillie suit on I-94 right now. My likeness. You gotta do it. I'm sorry.
Which leads to episode 12. It begins with Edward Norton being arrested by the cops and Cory dancing around, in which he ends up saying that he set up Edward Norton to take the blame for everything. But that doesn't seem to last too long, because in the next episode, we're told that he has escaped. As he's telling us about what happened, we hear another scream, and this time, we actually see the victim tied up. Now, in episode 15, yet again, we hear another scream, but this time, it's a different voice, another victim. So skipping over the minor stuff that happened, the next big event that happens is in episode 17, in which Edward Norton calls Cory and tells him that he's coming for him. But finally, in episode 30, we get another message from Local 78, but this time it says, "Now is the time. I have come."
Well, look who finally decided to show up. Okay, I know I'm late this time. It's not even freaking Sunday. Guys, I know the doorbell didn't ring at 1:12 a.m. Okay. Anyway, guys, yes, I am sorry. Spooky Scary Sunday is
Play as a serial killer, where you play as a serial killer, who's feeding a deity of humans after they've been killed.
Window's not even broken.
Hey, Cory.
That's all the lore we would get for a while until episode 40. And that since episode 30, Edward Norton has been the one hosting Spooky Scary Sunday episodes, and ends with him saying that Edward Norton has randomly disappeared. Now, we wouldn't get any more information on what happened after until episode 60, as he says it's been a while since I had to reach for this, where he gets very bloodlusted and then randomly calms down and apologizes for how he acted. He got a call, and it was Edward Norton again. Now that was the last time we would ever hear or know about what Edward Norton is doing for now. But from what we have gathered so far, I don't think Edward Norton and Cory are different beings. I think they're the same, created in Cory's mind after playing a game. Now, I mentioned earlier to keep in mind the ritual that he was talking about in episode 7. What if I told you that all his actions were similar to a game he played? The game's called Feed Me Billy, where you play as a serial killer who's feeding a deity of humans after they've been killed. By now you might be thinking, but he played that game a couple of months after episode 5 of SSS. But that game was created in 2018, a year before episode 5 and 3. But why would he play it again, you might be asking, if he already did? Let me pose you this question. Then why create another person who looks like you, who is coming after you, but when he does catch you, doesn't harm you? You see, I think Edward Norton is Cory, a personality made in his head to scare Cory. but to also help Cory. Because during the time that Edward Norton was taking over Cory's body, there were no more victims. And even after Cory gets back in control, we never hear from Edward Norton or any victims of CORY'S again. Until episode 60, where as soon as he gets a little bit of the bloodlust back again, he pulls out the knife and becomes very unhinged, being possessed by the deity that possessed Billy and once possessed him. And after that, he snaps back. And who is the first person we hear from again after feeling bloodlusted and wanting to kill? Edward Norton.